Welcome to It's No Secret, a podcast for those who want their money questions answered.
Join us as we talk to real Kiwis and share truths about our own financial lives, because the truth is, there is no secret to achieving financial freedom.
Lovely listeners, welcome back to another episode of It's No Secret. Today we're chatting about how to financially thrive through the holidays. Now, we are nearing closer and closer to Christmas and to summer. Thank goodness, the weather's starting to warm up. Yay. And we thought it might be a good time to talk about how you can budget and or plan through this kind of summer period, because traditionally it is one of the most expensive times of the year. But we don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. Through the holidays. So
we do.
Yes,
we do.
Bearing in mind that as we go through this episode. Cool. So I guess where do we start? A bit of research that we found online, basically validating the fact that it is one of the times that Kiwis spend the most money. So data from payment provider Worldline showed consumer spending through all core retailers excluding hospitality, reached $2.653 billion in its payments network during the first 21 days of December, up 2.9% the same period last year. So this was 2003 research, and 17% on 2019. So, it's keeping in line with the trend and that it's increasing.
Yep.
It's probably
spending
all the
lots of money. Yeah. Exactly. All the pre-Christmas shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny.
Yeah.
This to me says that we're not very organised, because obviously everybody is like shopping in the same 21-day period.
Yeah, literally. They're like, I forgot about Christmas. Now
exactly.
I need to.
Panic. Panic buy.
How early do you plan your Christmas shopping?
That's a good question. I don't think that early, actually, to be fair, unless there's something that I'm like, okay, I definitely,
want this or need it.
Yeah, or like something pops up and you're like, oh, that would be a great present for this person that I know I have to buy a present for.
Yeah.
And then you just buy it. But we definitely not that organised. But this year we're going to have to be organised, because we're doing all our family Christmas celebrations early.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're probably going to have to shop quite soon.
So Black Friday sales, maybe?
Yes. Yeah, because I think our first family Christmas celebration is like the first weekend in December.
Oh, wow, that is early.
Yeah. So we're going to need to, hustle.
and why is that?
Get hustled. Because we're all in different countries for Christmas this year. So it's just, we're doing the part of it early.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
So are you taking presents with you to the places that you're going as well?
Probably will. Yeah, probably will. I feel like we definitely usually do that.
Yeah.
But then also I'm like, well, we're going to Australia to see my family. And then I was like, to the point of, how much do we spend on a Christmas gift and who do you buy for? I'm like, we're probably not going to buy that much for mum, dad, my brother.
Yeah, fair enough.
We don't do big Christmas spending for that group.
Yeah, your presence is your present, right?
Yeah. Well,
this year maybe.
Yeah. We'll probably do something else. But yes, I've not really thought about it. We haven't planned it. Luke and I haven't talked about it yet. So need to figure that out. But I do think for the family thing this side of Christmas, we usually do like Secret Santa or something. So there'll be a plan for that, and a cap and spending limits and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Ollie's family has already started the Secret Santa, and we've already got our people.
That's good.
Yeah, they did
That's
a month ago.
That's great. Love that.
But I obviously have not organised myself and bought the present yet. But
nice.
I'm like, we still have 6 weeks, 2 months almost.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's heaps of time. Yeah.
There's heaps of time.
I'll fit in that 1 to 21.
The only thing though about when there's not heaps of time is if you want to buy something that you have to buy online, you've got to be doing that now.
That's true.
You don't want to be under pressure and having to go to the shops.
That's true.
I feel like you limit your options if you miss the pre-Christmas shipping deadlines.
I'm not going to lie. I've never planned that far in my life. But maybe I should.
Yes, you should, Christine.
Right. Yeah, you should. So I guess I thought we could start on what was reasonable to send on a Christmas gift. Like, how much are we actually spending? And then I guess when we think about also, the summer period or holiday period, it's not just Christmas, it's also things like,
going away.
Yeah, holidays.
Having barbecues with people.
Yeah, picnics.
Catching up.
Things like
spending on food.
Yeah, petrol to get to the beach, all that kind of stuff.
All things.
So how much do you think is reasonable to send on a Christmas gift?
This is like a how long is a piece of string kind of question.
I know.
I feel like everybody has their own in-house rules, right? It's like you just either do it based on like a limit or an amount per the person that you're buying for, or just to whatever your budget can afford. But I think for me personally, what is reasonable? I feel like buying for Luke and I has no limit.
Yeah, fair enough.
But also it obviously does, because we're not just like buying anything. Like we're buying to the constraint of our financial resources, but we're potentially looking at it from the point of view of like what's something that we really want or have been really after or need for the house or something. That said, we also equally sometimes just don't get each other Christmas presents if one of us has had like a really big birthday present that year. Like I think it's in the context for your partner, at least it is for me, of what else has happened throughout the year. And are we going on holidays like during the Christmas period? And typically the last couple of Christmases we have gone on holidays around the Christmas period. And so basically the holiday has just been the present. So that's has its own rules.
I guess ultimately it's coming out of one bucket, right? It's like a shared pot of money.
It's like coming out of your discretionary spending. It's just like, is that discretionary spending going on a really nice dinner out on this holiday we're on, or is it going on like a physical gift or like a material gift for that person? So that sort of varies. But then when it comes to other people, I guess we sort of have like rough ground rules. Luke will always spend more on his parents than he will on, say, his sibling, which that's I find interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a view on that, but I'm like, horses for courses.
I mean, why is that? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it's guilt.
Oh.
I think
guilt
deep down.
As in like he just owes them his life ultimately.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds a bit savage, but I think it's guilt.
Yeah.
I think like truly if you would, he'll probably give you a different answer, but I'm... I think it's like care, and perhaps it's a bit of guilt because he knows that his mum in particular will go above and beyond with gifts, and so he has like this ingrained kind of minimum threshold that he needs to get over to feel like he's reciprocated with like a reasonable gift. Whereas if I think about that with my parents, like I could truly not buy them a present for Christmas and I wouldn't feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that I'm built.
Does it go the other way too?
Like, If they did,
that's good. I feel like if it is the two-way thing, then happy days.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, you know, and I think the part with any gifting is it's always really awkward when the gifting is mismatched. And so that's what I think maybe Luke is trying to avoid with like his parent situation in general, where it's like, well, he just knows that his mum will go above and beyond. And so if we were to not buy something at a certain level, I think he would feel really like guilty and bad about that.
Yeah.
Whether that's right or wrong is
to be discussed.
Literally. Because also I think like there is a fool's errand potentially if we're talking about thriving in getting caught up in the emotional like turmoil of being matching. Not everybody A has matching financial resources and not everybody B has matching I guess fulfillment or enjoyment from gifting. Like that is some people's love language. And if that's not yours, it's like, well, do you need to be drawn into matching that because that other person's doing that? I think in Christmas in particular, it's really hard not to because it's like public gifting.
Yeah. And a group of people generally.
Yeah. That is so true. I have been on the receiving end in different situations where like one year Luke and I haven't been as generous with, say, his sister and brother-in-law as they have with us. And then another year it was like reversed. And you do feel that ping of like, oh my God, like there's another present here. Like, oh my God, they've bought us like 3 presents this year and this is all really generous. And we bought them like we bought them on a tea towel. Like, you know.
Branded tea towel.
Like, so and I think that's really unavoidable, but it's also okay. You just have to be okay to perhaps like deal with that.
Yeah.
Does this happen with you guys?
So Ollie's family, they do Secret Santa every year and that's the thing. And the expectation is that there's a like dollar cap on it. So I think this year.
And do people stick to it though?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think so. Maybe Ollie's mum, maybe not, but everyone else is usually pretty disciplined.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the dollar cap is $100 and because you're only buying one present, I think that feels reasonable. Yeah. But my family is just a whole nother thing. My mum is
just do whatever.
Yeah, well, my mum is very similar to Luke's mum in the sense that she goes above and beyond, which is obviously awesome, but I always feel like guilty every year because I think it's a little bit unnecessary. Like I don't need those things and so I also then don't reciprocate And then also my love language is not gifting, it's quality time.
Yep.
And so, but then Caroline and I are different. We just don't really get each other anything because we're very like, and we're very like black and white about it in the sense that we also didn't even get birthday presents for each other this year because we're like, I'm going to be trading you a equivalent of $150 or whatever. Yes. So you just keep your money, I'll keep mine. Happy days.
Everyone's happy.
The Grinch? I don't know.
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting though, right? Because it's like people obviously don't really talk about it in their family units. And it is funny that then different people have different standards that they apply to themselves and how that can perhaps become complex in a financial situation. And it is quite funny thinking about like we also have those people. It's like we don't buy those people presents because they don't buy us presents, but then we buy presents for other people. And then you get into the scenario where I'm like, so we're buying presents for like one set of parents, but we're not buying presents for another set of parents. Do we feel guilty about that outcome? And it's just very complex.
It is. So do you think the like solution is just having a conversation about what's the plan this year?
Probably.
You know, like,
in my personal experience of trying to have said conversations, I think the fall down that people go to is potentially they try and have the whole conversation with everyone, which is fine. But really you need to have the conversation with the person that's the problem. And I say that in the kindest way. But I'm going to just use your family so I don't get in trouble here. Yeah. But like your mum's the problem.
Yeah, she is.
Because she's the person that's doing the thing in the way that she wants that other people feel like they can't reciprocate.
Yeah.
So it's like you need her buy-in because without her buying into it and potentially changing how she's going to approach Christmas, it's completely irrelevant to even have the conversation.
Yeah.
And we saw this play out like the first time we brought up the whole Secret Santa as a family thing for Luke's side of the family. The first year that we did that, everybody said yes and we all got allocated the person and the limit and you're buying for one person, one gift. And then Luke's mum bought presents for everybody on top of the Secret Santa. And so the minute that happens, you're like, well, shit, what was the point of the conversation? And then the year after you're like, okay, so what happens next year? Like we know that history will repeat itself.
I literally had this happen the same thing.
So you know, it's like you have to actually talk to, I think, and get the conversation in and across with the person that is
the culprit.
Or the outlier, or like maybe they're not the outlier though in your family. Maybe everybody is that way inclined, and then there's like someone that doesn't buy anyone presents at the outlier, and maybe you need to deal with them so that they're included and it's not awkward for everybody. Like whoever the outlier is, you need to, I think, have the convo with them first.
Do you think it's like, how do you get this person to make it their idea? To make it like maybe they own it because then they're, you know, responsible for the outcome. And then also they're like, you know, I feel good about this. I don't need to go around and buy all this stuff.
I know. But then I guess as well, some people just, that is the thing that they enjoy, right? And so for them, it's like, well, I just want to do this regardless because I feel good. And how can you break people's habits of like 20 years? I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
But yeah.
Okay, so next one is kids then, because we've actually, I think we've talked about this on the podcast ages ago around gifting for kids, maybe more around birthdays.
Yes.
Just like, you know, maybe putting an investment account versus, you know, buying toys.
True.
Where do we sit on that?
Well, I think you probably have to get a read from the parents. I think that's the first thing. In terms of like, are the parents going to go overboard? Is someone else in the family going to go overboard for the kids? Like, is no one going overboard and I want to buy something big? But then also having seen like the dynamic of various family members buying things for other people's children, you have to be really conscious of like if the parents are trying to set some kind of standard or rule in their family, whether it's like we don't go overboard for Santa gifts is a good example because it's kind of encouraged that like perhaps you shouldn't do that because if you go into a school environment and your child's like Santa got me a Nintendo and another kid's like Santa got me a board game and they're like in their mind Santa is the same person.
True.
And so it's like why is this mythical creature giving us like vastly disproportionate gifts? The general sentiment that I've learned is like you give the expensive gift as the parent and then you give the kind of like more generic gift from Santa is one way that people might approach it.
That's a nice way to think about it.
And so if you know that, say, the parents are going to do that, it's like don't buy a present that's going to trump the parent's own present because that's a surefire way to piss them off.
Oh my God, that was savage.
You know, unless it's pre-discussed, unless it's a thing like it's a big ticket item and maybe they want like, you know, I can think of a classic one like the trampoline, right? And it's like maybe they want a contribution from the grandparents to all collectively put in for the trampoline. Like that.
It's
cool, very reasonable. But you kind of need to talk to the parents about it.
Yeah. Okay, this is good.
And then I think the other common one that gets a lot of airtime is the whole like something you wear, something you read, something you. It's basically like a piece of clothing, a book, something you play with, and then something you use in the future. Like kind of simple things.
Like your investment account.
Yeah, well, exactly. But for kind of small presents. So obviously the wearing thing is like something practical that the child's obviously going to use and will help the family out a little bit that you've bought something. And then, something nice. So it's not just like 100 toys.
Yeah, cool.
But I think, getting a read or just doing, we've talked about before, like investing in their investment account, giving them some saving money, like all that kind of stuff is also fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Those are fun, like little things I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
As a new,
got to think about this. Don't just come in hot with the trampoline unless you've had buy-in from the parents.
Yeah. This is such a good point.
I think as well, particularly because like, obviously, we've not really encountered this yet with Lily because she's so young, but having seen like our nieces and nephews and stuff grow up, it's like you don't know what conversations are going on in the family and how they're approaching Christmas. And if that family has multiple kids and like perhaps there's been some behavioral issues or something that has been happening that has been feeding into like Christmas-based conversations, and you don't necessarily want to just inadvertently undermine the parents by whatever kind of standard they're trying to set.
Yeah.
And so trying to check in with them, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Noted. We'll do.
Check in now.
Yeah. Messages
and if in doubt, maybe just put money in the investment account.
Yeah, be the cool aunt that gives them a future lump sum.
And I think as well, if you're someone that has kids, it's also okay to maybe set the ground rules with like parents or aunts and uncles or like grandparents to be like, hey, this is, we've got way too much of this. We just actually, the kids would really benefit from clothes or really benefit from books this year. I think, you can't complain about it after the fact if you didn't set the expectation pre-Christmas.
I agree. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. I thought I'd shout out. So in the research that I was doing for this episode, I came across a Reddit thread that essentially was talking about like what is reasonable to spend on a Christmas gift. And the comments had some good insights really. So pretty standard one, Secret Santa $50 limit. I feel like that's a good.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, easy. Another one said you could splurge on important people, not others. So
I can get around this. Though. I think this is fair.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I just randomly pulled out numbers. You could spend like $150 on your partner, and then $75 on your, immediate family.
Yeah.
And then maybe you don't buy friends presents, but you have a dinner together instead. Yes. So it's more about the quality time or things like that.
I've got something to say on this.
Yes.
So like $75 in this day and age is not a lot of money.
No. I just pulled that out.
I know. No, I'm not criticizing it because in my mind, I'm also like, I think we have $100 limit or a $50 limit on Secret Santa, but I'm like, that is really hard to buy two in just like what is an expensive world. Like I remember last year, we did Secret Santa and I wanted new slippers and they were like $65. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. It was a $50 limit. And I'm like, I just want those. Like, I just want those. I don't want anything else. I just want those.
You're like, can I contribute the 50?
Literally. I was like, if this person is going to stick to the limit, they just went over the limit. But if they're going to stick to the limit, like, can they just give me the voucher so that I can go buy the slippers because I don't want anything else. And so that as well, I feel like is really hard because sometimes then you get to this point of you're like, I have to gift someone something, or I feel like I really should buy them a gift, but I don't want to spend too much money. And then it's like, well, are you buying something of true value for that person? Maybe not. Like,
yeah, we don't want to be buying rubbish that you're never going to use again because that's also not environmentally friendly.
Exactly.
It just gets put into the bin.
Complex.
It is very complex.
But this is how I think we end up like overspending on people because then we get to the point of we're like, okay, well, $75, like, I don't know, example, like let's buy Luke's sister and her husband a dinner voucher. Like $75 is not covering two people's dinner.
No, it's not.
So then you're like, okay, well, now we're spending $150.
Yeah, $75 each.
Yeah.
And then even $150 now, it's not like for a nice dinner, it's not a huge amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Well,
so conundrums.
Yeah. We'll get on to the tips soon.
If If anyone's got answers for that, send them our way.
Just to round out the Reddit thread, another one they said is buy only kids presents and then cap that at $50 a present. Adults don't get anything. I'm like, this is kind of savage, but I'm here for it because if
I think that's fair.
I
think it's A-okay that once you get to a certain point in your life, you're like, I'm not buying adults presents.
Yeah.
Weirdly, we had this in our family where we got to that point and then it got reversed. And I was like, when did this get reversed? And no one talked about it.
Also, no kids. Kids don't get presents.
No, the kids do too. But then we just started buying for all the adults again. And I was like, how? Why?
Yeah.
I don't know what. I don't know.
My wallet is not appreciating this.
It just happened. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
So we need to nip that in the bud. Yeah.
We do.
Nice.
I also feel like a really good hot tip, maybe on the whole, like, do you buy to a dollar value or do you buy to an item?
Yes.
Is it A-okay to give people a wish list as an adult?
Oh, yes.
So in our family Secret Santa, we use this little app that you basically one person like puts everybody in the family in. You all have to get the app. You get allocated a person. Whoever is organizing the Secret Santa can set some rules. So if you have like two people in the family that really don't get along and you don't want them to have to buy for themselves, you can basically make sure that certain people aren't connected. And then the person, every individual, once they get their person, can also create a wish list. So you can just put on your wish list things that you would like that then, of course, the person that's gotten you can see.
Yeah, how good.
And we have used this a couple of years in a row. And the first year, not many people use the wish list and some people in the family use the wish list. And then the second year, basically everybody used the wish list. And it's so much more helpful because also it's like, well, maybe buying to a limit is really hard. But if I knew that you really wanted this item, like the slippers, and the slippers was $65, I'd be like, I'm happy to spend $65 because Christine's going to wear these slippers every day.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
Staple item.
Very low. Yeah. And so we get around the like, do you guys do that?
Yeah,
Have
we
you
do.
ever
I
done,
think we might maybe use the same app.
Okay, it's fun. Yeah, it's great.
Like this year, Ollie organises it every year because he's the middle child, very reliable. And I basically made him like tweak it in my favour so that I got to give who I wanted to and I got to receive.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to. And so I know exactly who everyone's getting.
Oh, Christine, no, you can't know who everybody's getting.
I know. Oh, yeah. But we have the same thing.
Is that because you wanted to buy a specific thing for a specific person?
Well, I just like, there's some family members where I just wouldn't even know where to start and I don't really think they would do a wish list. And so I then am like, panicking on the 21st of December, like, what do I get them? Yeah. So I was just really trying to selfishly make it easier for me.
Do the wish list, people.
Yeah. But also, fun fact, in Denmark, it's a yearly tradition that your parents will ask you for what's your Christmas list. And so it's the expectation that you send it. And that's just the norm. And so it's been this kind of funny thing with obviously, my mum's remarried and their family is very used to it. They all have digital online lists that they send out and they're like, here's what I want, whatever. And Caroline and I refuse to do it because
Christine,
I just am like, you should know me well enough.
No, I call BS on that. I
but
know
also it's backfired every year because
you never get what you want.
Yeah, basically. So
I think this is the thing that I just hate the most about gifting is getting stuff that you hate and you're like, well, this person has spent money and time on this and it's not something that I actually like. And that's like the worst outcome for everybody. Also pretending that you like a present when you open it and you don't. That is a certain kind of hell that I wish upon no one. Like I have distinct childhood trauma memories of getting to the age where you realize that like you have to kind of act when you open up your Christmas presents and just in case you don't like them.
It's so true.
It's not a fun time. It's really not. You have to write a list this year. You have to. Why would you not?
Yeah, okay.
What are you worried about?
It's just effort for me. I'm just lazy.
Okay, listeners of the show, we can call Christine out on this. She needs to stop being lazy.
Yeah, I will take
and
that
write the list.
Yeah, I will do it this year.
Okay.
But yeah. But also, I appreciate that we're very lucky to be getting presents at the start to begin with.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Don't want to ignore that. Okay, so tips. So we haven't really talked about general holidays either. We've focused on Christmas, but I think the tips for financially thriving throughout this period kind of encompass that. What are some tips or like things that we could do to thrive or even just consider our finances through this time?
Well, I think the first point that you literally just touched on is you have to consider it.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody gets so hyper-focused on Christmas and then they kind of forget about the fact that they're probably going to have some time off work. Generally, what happens is you end up spending money when you're not keeping busy at work, or you're just generally being a bit more social or catching up with people or seeing family, and it costs money to get there. If you're traveling, even by car, or just like the food costs of wanting to catch up with friends, and you do that over like a barbecue and then contributing to all of that. So I think my first tip would be like, make sure you're being conscious of the fact that it's probably going to cost you a bit more, and being okay with the fact that you might have like higher discretionary spending for essentially a like 6-week period of time.
Yeah.
And if that's not something that you can afford, then you need to figure out some strategies to essentially get yourself out of those social situations, or have like really good proactive conversations with people to have alternatives, or present alternatives that aren't going to be like stressful on your budget. If it's your family, hopefully you're honest with them. But then also I feel like people aren't, because they just get into the pressure of wanting to obviously catch up with people and then say yes, and potentially just pay to be a part of that. So just obviously just like recognizing that early now.
Yeah.
And then you're going to know, like we're in November, you're going to know whether or not you're well placed to cover this cost from just your day-to-day cash flow, or whether it's something you're going to have to take out from savings, or whether it's something that you're going to have to rely on debt for. And if it's the latter, then you probably need to be thinking about, okay, well, what are some ways in which I can reduce that burden on myself as much as possible?
Yeah, definitely. As you say that, I was thinking like we really need to be thinking about this earlier. If you find yourself in a situation where maybe the costs or potential costs are going to be too high and you do need to rely on debt, I guess this time, like don't get into the situation this time next year. You want to start earlier essentially, but that's obviously a hindsight thing.
Do you guys do anything for this? Because I know for us, like practically, I basically just, you can do like on your automatic payments, we have Westpac, and you can see what your future automatic payments are coming out of like our day-to-day account, and you can like from them edit, suspend or cancel them, and you can just suspend them for a period of time, and it just asks you like how many payments. Most of ours are weekly because we're each paid on alternating fortnights. And so I'll be like, let's just suspend this for 3 weeks, because for me personally, I really don't like the feeling of still attempting to save money, knowing in my mind that then 2 weeks later, I'm just going to have to take that money out of our savings account anyway because it's been more expensive. I would just feel better that we have like a higher running balance in our day-to-day account and we're spending more money, but I don't have that like negative feeling of like, oh my God, what's in our transaction account today? Like, you know?
I feel like that's a really smart way to do it. I don't do it like that.
I feel like you should do that this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good learning.
Because otherwise you feel like you're saving, and then I think you just feel bad taking money out of savings. Everybody feels bad doing that, even if you know. And so I'm like, I just want to avoid that feeling for a month.
Yeah.
And ultimately you're not going to remember in like 6 months' time the amount of money that you didn't save for the period of like Christmas and summer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. So do you, like when you do that, do you work out roughly how much you think you might need, or is it just we'll just keep the bucket fuller basically?
I'm just like, okay, so at the moment we're basically trying to save as much money as we can, and I just know that that's basically unachievable because we do have like present money in our budget, but it gets spread out across the whole year, and I'm like, well, the vast majority of that like present buying is happening at this period of time or around birthdays. And so usually we would just take money out of savings for that. And I'm like, knowing that we're going to do that, let's just stop the savings plan for basically a month and then live off essentially most of our income that's coming in. And be okay with that. And if we get to the end of December and it's like, oh, cool, we still have some, but that's not going to happen because I'm already like, okay, we've got Christmas, we're going to Australia, we're then going away with friends for New Year's. Like you're going to be spending money on food and travel and activities, exactly. And things will pop up. And the whole point, I guess, is that, you know, you want to be able to enjoy yourself and catch up with people. And so I don't want just the like headache of moving money around to be the thing that's stressing us out during what can already be a bit of a stressful time for people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, especially when it is summer and you want to take advantage of the nice weather and the good vibes and all that kind
And
of
if
stuff.
you've been putting your money into an account, like all of our automatic payments are going into Kernel and then going into like the savings account or the Cash Plus fund. And so also hot tip, don't be called out by the public holidays, which are going to slow down any withdrawals from any like savings accounts or investment accounts that you do have. You just need that money in your bank account.
Yeah, nice.
Pre the 20th of December would be my hot tip.
Yeah, before everything closes.
Yeah, exactly. And it just starts to become a little bit slower. And obviously like bank to bank transfers still happen over public holidays, but not so much of like, you know, if we were like, okay, we're going to take $2,000 out of our cash fund to help get us through this expensive period of time, that's going to take a few extra days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Good tips. Love it. Nice.
And we don't have a credit card to pay for things on, so that's not an option.
Okay, well, that's kind of good though, because then you're not like, oh, we'll just chuck it on the credit card. It's like, no, there's a limit.
No, we've got to like, be pre-planned with the money.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I would say on that is, or just generally on the credit card thing is, I can't remember when, it was someone saying that they essentially put themselves into debt because they get so generous or like they really, you know, want to give to others during that time. And it's kind of like the oxygen mask thing, right? And that they say like put your mask on before you do others. I reckon that's a really good tip for this like summer period is
definitely
don't disadvantage yourself in order to like be generous to others. And maybe call me selfish, whatever, but like I think it's more just like thinking about the potential impact that it could have on you.
Yes.
If you overextend yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. During this time.
I'm also going to be really controversial and just say like, how much positive impact are you really having on others by buying them a really big and generous Christmas present anyway?
Yeah, it's time or something more valuable.
Well, but also it's like, sure, everybody does like nice things, but you see it with kids. And I think it's just a little bit harder to see with adults. But I'm like, we're still humans, right? Like kids are so excited on Christmas Day. They get all these gifts. And then 6 months later, they have other much more exciting things and toys and stuff going on in their lives. And sure, they might come back to that toy or that thing, or, you know, every once in a while, it's the big ticket item that they really wanted, like the Nintendo or the trampoline that they use for ages. But the reality is for most of us, like big material items that cost a lot of money aren't necessarily something that are going to bring us like heaps of joy forever and a day. And if you're putting yourself into a debt-filled position or just a significantly difficult position in the hope that like your generosity is the thing that's going to put you in good stead with these other people, I'm just like, is it?
Is it? Yeah, I agree.
Is their positive really outweighing your negative? Probably not.
Also it's like a dopamine hit. You get the present, it's really exciting. A day later, you're on.
And it's exciting for the gift giver. Yeah. Like that's the other thing. True, everybody needs to recognize this. It's like gift giving is mostly about you. It's not about them. So let's just like come at it from that point of view and recognize that we're all just trying to be selfish and that's fine. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that, like you should put yourself into debt for getting that like dopamine hit.
Yeah, that moment of selfishness.
Yeah, exactly.
What else can we do?
Good question. I feel like you could probably set yourself some limits. I like your suggestion here of like looking at last year's budget or kind of what you generally spend, because I think people get caught out when they have an unrealistic expectation, right? Where they're like, oh, I only need to spend $500 for Christmas, and then they don't do the math on like, okay, I've got to buy, I don't know, 3 $50 presents for these adults, and then I'm contributing to like Christmas Day food and drinks, which in itself is probably another $150. And then, you know, this and this, and then maybe some transport costs, and then that's only basically Christmas Day, and there's lots more of summer.
We've already spent $500.
Exactly. So I think it's helpful to be just realistic about like, what did you spend last year? And chances are you're probably going to spend a similar amount this year, unless you've agreed and discussed with your family that you're not. And being realistic about that, and then kind of knowing that you have this like limit in your mind, you can kind of track that as you go, so you're not just frivolously shopping. The other thing I would say for people that are in relationships is you obviously need to talk about this with your significant other, because having had the experience of like you both independently have ideas of who's buying what, how much we're going to spend on different gifts or different experiences, like what's important for people is really important to discuss. Otherwise, you'll essentially just both end up spending way beyond what is like an agreed budget, because you haven't really agreed a budget, or agreed anything.
Yeah, nice.
In advance.
Yeah, open conversations. Up front, basically.
Yeah. Luke is a real like, I'm just going to go do all the shopping on one day and just buy what I see. And that just like terrifies me because I'm like, that is just firstly in my mind, he's going to be like rolling his eyes at me. Super wasteful because you end up buying things that you think the person will like as opposed to like what they actually really want or would value. You end up overspending because you see things that look great and then you're like, this is great, and you buy them. And there's much less of like a plan to it.
Yeah.
And then
I resonate with Luke deeply.
And I'm like, this is just my worst nightmare. I'm just like, no, why would you do that?
Ollie takes the approach that you do as well. He's very calculated and like puts a lot of thought into it and, you know, checks the online things, does comparisons, the whole thing. Yeah. So, he would be nodding his head surely at this.
So, yes, I think that can kind of throw the budget out a little bit when it's not so much like the last minute panic, but you've just not necessarily like thought it through as much or written a bit of a list and actually figured out, okay, this gift that I have in mind for Christine like is actually going to cost about $100, and I sort of didn't really think that through. So making sure that you're happy with all those things.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Love it. The thing that I will add, and then we can round out, is that just in terms of activities over summer, perhaps you want to look at like free or cheaper alternatives if you're trying to keep the budget down because, you know, this is a time hopefully where it's really great weather. Maybe not in Auckland as we've seen in the past, but
it'll be fun.
Yeah, hopefully. Picnics in the park, beach days. I mean, all of them kind of have some element of cost in the sense that you need to obviously eat food while you're there if you're having a picnic and then drive there and all that kind of stuff. But that can be, you know, like you can camp instead of going to a batch or like.
Yes.
And I think it kind of comes back to your point around, you know, the cost of the gift or like giving a big gift versus the experience. It's about maybe the memories that more so than it is like the moment of dopamine hit.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. There's lots of fun free things to do in all parts of New Zealand.
Yeah. Museums.
You just got to be a bit
crafty.
Yeah, literally.
Creative,
a little bit creative. A little bit creative. And then if you don't want to do free things, just kind of plan them in. Make sure that, you know, people are happy. Don't pressure anyone.
Yeah.
Throw out the invite, but like if they say no, it's all good. It's not because of you.
Yeah, and you're welcome to say no too.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, such a time.
Yeah, I'm excited for summer. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I feel like summer is good. I just feel like you've got to get over the stress of Christmas and then summer is more chill. Yeah. Is essentially the dream outcome.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
Yeah. Ask us again in like February.
Exactly right. Nice. So you've got about a month or so, but now's the time. Don't be Christine and Luke and doing it all in one day on like
the 22nd.
Yeah, no, thank you. Please don't. Please don't.
Also, Black Friday is coming up. Yes. So take advantage of the sales.
Yeah. If there's particular things that like, you know, certain people need, definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And also just don't miss the online shopping deadlines. Like do it now.
Get your shipping sorted. It'll
be fine.
Buy those socks for Dad.
Exactly. Love this.
Cool.
Great. Well, big thanks to Kernel for enabling us to do what we do. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe wherever you're tuning in, whether that's video on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch at It's No Secret NZ on Instagram. We would love to hear from you regarding episode requests, feedback, and more. Particularly if you have any expensive Christmas stories, we are here to listen to them.
Yes.
And on that note, we will see you next week.